What up, Envoys? Today I have my Wisp Prime build. This is my 550% strength build. I will go over the math afterwards to explain how we get to that point. But as always, we will start with the Archon shards. We have 5 Tau Forged Red, all ability strength. Uh, there's no option here for this. It's just all ability strength, specifically for Roar and Pillage. But moving on to the build, we have Growing Power for the Aura for 25% ability strength. Prime Sure-Footed just to be sure we're not knocked on our ass in mission. Blind Rage and Umbral Intensify for strength. Primed Continuity for some ability duration. We could put Transient Fortitude on here for more strength, but we do want some ability duration as it's really nice for Roar, Breach Surge, and your moats whenever you leave the circle. Primed Flow for some energy, Archon Stretch for the range, and for the fact that our one does do electricity, so we will generate energy over time. Adaptation for some defenses as well, and Fused Reservoir because I am absolutely lazy and I hate placing every single one of them down. This is just a quality of life change, in my opinion, and the 200% more energy means nothing with Wisp, luckily. And then finally, Umbral Vitality, and we will go over why here in a second, but it's just more defenses. Molt Augmented is here for 60% ability strength, and Arcane Bellicose, which is why we're using Umbral Vitality, so we reach a certain health threshold. When you get this up and going, you'll have 55% strength. There's ways to get to 57, but normally you'll have 55. And how you do this is your one gives you health. And when you get health, you get strength. And as you get strength, it increases the health of vitality mode. So you do this little dance where you place a few down, you increase your health to as high as you can. And then you start building up Molt Augmented to push your strength further, to increase your health. It's a roundabout way of doing it, but it's just hilarious to see that you can reach, I think you can reach 2300 with this, so you'll have a lot of health to help out with Wisp. Moving on to the weapons, we have the Fulmin Prime, her signature weapon. We have Aptitude Chamber, Critical Delay, Vital Sense as normal. Shreds here for the fire rate and punch through because it's really nice on here. Internal Bleeding because this is a primarily impact weapon, and being able to deal slash on top of it is just really nice. Hammer Shots here for crit damage and status chance. And Fulmin, my Riven here, just put a Bane mod if you're able to, or another status of some kind, preferably electric. I tried primary acuity on here. It just doesn't work, unfortunately. Like, Galvanized Chamber is so nice on this build that giving it up for the crit chance is just not worth it, in my opinion. And I prefer to use the semi version of this build rather than the fully automatic. But that's just up to preference. If you prefer the automatic, it's still really good. Moving on to the Furis, our secondary, we are using the Incarnon with the first evolution being on hitting enemies affected by electricity status plus 40% multi-shot for 2 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. We will be proccing this as our electricity mode will proc electricity on enemies constantly, and thus this is up constantly. The second evolution is base magazine capacity. This one's up to you. I just prefer having a bigger magazine size to be able to get the Incarnon evolution going. And finally, base status chance by 28%. I just prefer the status chance over anything else. For the build itself, we have Shot and Diffusion, as you normally would. Same with Creeping Bullseye and Target Cracker. Pistol Elementalist for the status damage, and the reload speed increases the speed at which we transform into the Incarnon form. So that is nice. Lethal Torn for fire rate and multi-shot. And Merciless Gunfight here is a optional mod. You can put whatever you want here. I just like having the punch through and the extra crit damage. And for the Riven slot that I have here, you want to put Prime Heated Charge as opposed to a Riven or a Bane mod because we're using Cascadia Flare. As you can see on this one, I have Heat, which is why I'm not using Prime Heated Charge. I kind of wish this had a negative, but as you can see, I rolled it 123 times, and I've had no such luck. So that's just crappy for me. But put Prime Heated Charge here, and the build will work as normal. Moving on to the melee weapon, the dual Zoren Prime is here for its unique trait, as Wisp passive makes her invisible while she's in the air. And this makes you just stay in the air more because you're coptering around. So it's just really nice to have this. If you don't like the dual Zoren, you can put whatever melee you want. I'm thought of even using the Coda Hyrudo, as it gives extra health, 25% extra health and heals. That's an option, but I prefer to be in the air mostly. With that, we have Galvanized Elementalist for the status damage and status chance, Galvanized Steel for crit chance and crit damage, your combo of Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds, Prime Reach, because I might be wrong, but it feels like the coptering length is increased by range. I could be insane. If I am wrong, let me know. But it just honestly feels like you go farther with more range. Berserker Fury for attack speed. If you want to use Fury, by all means, but you get more attack speed with this. Primed Pressure Point for melee damage. And for the Riven, just put whatever you want. If you want a Bane mod, if you want another status of any kind, you do you. But I'm using this Riven because it's a really nice Riven. And that's it for the build. Now, as I said, I'm going to explain why we get to 550%, because there's a few extra things you have to do. Moving back to the build, we're at 349 strength. That's with your Archon shards and your mods, plus the 25% for growing power, 60% for molt augmented, and 55 to 57, depending upon a few other factors, as well. Next, we have Materai, and we will go to Sling Strength, which will give us 40% ability of strength after doing a chained sling. And to reach the last 24%, on this build, sometimes I will use a Spectre with Nidus, as Parasitic Link gives you 24% ability strength, because that's the base value of Parasitic Link. You don't have to do this. You won't reach the 550%, unfortunately. You'll hit about 525, 530, but it is still good. I'm going to move on to the Simulacrum Test. However, I'm going to skip ahead a bit so I can build up Molt Augmented for you guys so you can see the stats of the abilities and what it looks like when you have all this extra strength. So I will be right back. All right, so I got Growing Power going, Molt Augment at its max, additionally with Arcane Bellicose, and Sling Strength. As you can see here, Reservoirs gives us about... Oh, it got... Hold on. That's why. So if I do this, and then do this, as you can see here, there we go. 1500 for max health. Then Breach Surge has a 9.6, and Roar is 144 damage increase. With Pillage over your 4, it will be 100% armor strip as well. Just to show off these weapons real quick for you guys before we move on to the Steel Path test. This thing's got to build up a bit. You're forgetting rid of some of those pesky targets, singular ones like Eximus. The Furis, same thing. We'll do this. Base form's okay, but it's the Incarnon form we want to use, and as you can see, you just mow through enemies. And for the dual Zoren, other than using it to fly around, its damage is pretty good as well. And there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As I said, the Steel Path run is next. But until next time, guys, bye!